Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome back to another awesome edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing leading remote and distributed teams in the video game industry. Best practices for communication, trust, and accountability in remote game development teams. The video game industry has always thrived on creativity and collaboration. For decades, these qualities were nurtured in shared spaces, buzzing offices, late-night pizza-fueled crunches, and spontaneous conversations around whiteboards. But the last few years have redefined how studios work. Remote and distributed teams are no longer temporary stopgaps. They are now a permanent and growing reality of the industry. From indie developers collaborating across continents to AAA studios managing hundreds of employees worldwide, governing remote and distributed teams in game development has become a core leadership responsibility. This shift presents both opportunities and challenges. Leaders must now master new ways of fostering communication, building trust, and ensuring accountability when face-to-face interactions are limited. The truth is simple. The skills required to lead remote and distributed teams overlap with traditional leadership, but they also demand new approaches. Leaders who cling to outdated methods risk disconnection, inefficiency, and low morale. Those who adapt can unlock new levels of flexibility, diversity, and resilience in their teams. Why governing remote and distributed teams matters in the game industry. The video game industry is uniquely suited to remote and distributed work. Tools like Unity, Unreal Engine, Jira, and Slack already support digital collaboration. Yet, remote work is also magnified challenges around clarity, creativity, and culture. When governing remote teams, leaders must recognize communication barriers are greater. Time zones, cultural difference, and digital tools can distort messages. Trust must be intentional. Without physical presence, trust cannot be assumed. It must be built and maintained. Accountability must be transparent. Remote environments require clear systems to track progress and outcomes. Cultures must be nurtured deliberately. Casual bonding and shared rituals are harder to replicate virtually. These factors make governance essential. Leaders are not only managing production pipelines, they are shaping environments where creativity, collaboration, and motivation can survive distance. Actionable step number 1. Establish clear communication channels. Communication is the backbone of any team, but it becomes mission critical for remote and distributed game dev teams. Without clear systems, miscommunication can cause costly delays, missed milestones, or fractured team relationships. So how to establish communication effectively? Designate primary channels. Use Slack, Discord, or Teams for daily communication. Clearly define where project updates, casual chat, and urgent issues should go. Schedule regular video calls. Weekly stand-ups or bi-weekly check-ins help replicate the presence of in-person collaboration. Document everything. Written documentation prevents misinterpretation and provides clarity for team members in different time zones. Use asynchronous tools. Not every discussion needs to be live. Use tools like Loom or Miro for updates that can be reviewed later. By intentionally designing communication systems, leaders prevent confusion and ensure that remote teams remain aligned. Actionable step number 2. Build trust intentionally. Trust naturally develops when people work side by side, but remote teams require deliberate trust building. In distributed environments, absence of trust can lead to micromanagement, disengagement, or even turnover. Ways to build trust as a leader. Show consistency. Deliver on promises and model accountability. Practice transparency. Share information about project goals, financial health, and challenges. Acknowledge achievements. Publicly recognize contributions to ensure individuals feel valued. Encourage vulnerability. Model openness about challenges so team members feel safe to do the same. Trust is not built overnight. It is accumulated through consistent actions and reinforced through positive interactions. Actionable step number 3. Set clear expectations and outcomes. In remote game development, accountability can falter if expectations are vague. Leaders must set crystal clear goals, timelines, and deliverables. This provides structure while also giving team members freedom to manage their own workflows. Practical strategies. Create detailed project roadmaps that break milestones into achievable tasks. Use project management tools like Jira, Trello, or Notion for visibility. Define done criteria for tasks to prevent misinterpretation. Encourage ownership by linking deliverables to individual responsibility. Clarity eliminates guesswork, reducing frustration while increasing productivity. Actionable step number 4. Embrace time zone differences proactively. One of the biggest challenges of distributed teams is the time zone overlap. It can create delays, limit real-time collaboration, or lead to burnout if not handled carefully. Best practices. Map out time zones for all team members. Schedule meetings in overlapping windows that respect work-life balance. Record important calls for those unable to attend. Use asynchronous tools for updates to reduce reliance on live conversations. Leaders who embrace time zone differences proactively demonstrate respect for their team members' lives and create more sustainable workflows. Actionable step number 5. Foster studio culture virtually. Culture is the invisible glue that holds teams together. In physical studios, culture is reinforced through shared spaces, casual conversations, and rituals. In remote and distributed teams, leaders must intentionally create cultural touchpoints. How to foster culture virtually. Host virtual game nights or watch parties. Celebrate milestones with digital parties or care packages. Create Slack channels for hobbies, memes, and personal updates. Reinforce studio values in all communication, not just official documents. Culture is not just about fun, it's about belonging. Leaders who invest in virtual culture ensure their teams remain connected despite distance. The core leadership qualities needed for remote governance. To succeed in governing remote and distributed teams in the video game industry, leaders must develop specific qualities. Empathy, understanding the personal and professional challenges of remote work. Clarity, communicating with precision to avoid misinterpretation. Flexibility, adapting to shifting schedules, technologies, and team dynamics. Trustworthiness, demonstrating reliability and transparency. Visionary thinking, inspiring teams with a clear sense of purpose. These qualities shape governance that goes beyond mechanics. They create environments where distributed teams can thrive. Actionable step number 6, use technology strategically. Technology is both the enabler and potential obstacle of remote governance. Leaders must choose tools wisely and avoid overwhelming teams with unnecessary complexity. Practical technology choices. For communication, Slack, Discord, or Microsoft Teams. For project management, Jira, Trello, or Asana. For documentation, Confluence, Notion, or Google Docs. And for creative collaboration, Figma, Miro, or shared whiteboards. The key is not just adopting tools, but creating consistent practices around them. Overloading teams with multiple overlapping platforms creates confusion. Actionable step number 7, provide growth and development opportunities. Remote environments can make professional development feel distant. Leaders must actively create pathways for growth. How to provide opportunities. Offer virtual training programs or conference access. Pair team members with mentors for skill development. Encourage knowledge-sharing sessions where staff teach each other. Recognize growth milestones, not just completed tasks. By investing in development, leaders demonstrate care and build loyalty. Actionable step number 8, ensure accountability without micromanagement. Leaders sometimes confuse accountability with constant surveillance. In remote settings, this leads to resentment and burnout. Effective governance requires accountability systems that empower rather than constrain. Ways to implement accountability effectively. Use transparent project boards so progress is visible to all. Set outcome-focused goals rather than micromanaging processes. Hold regular one-on-one discussions to discuss challenges and support needs. Foster a culture where accountability is shared, not imposed. Trust plus accountability creates balance. Teams feel empowered, but also responsible. Challenges leaders must overcome. Governing remote and distributed teams is not without obstacles. Leaders must anticipate and address common challenges. Isolation. Team members may feel disconnected without intentional culture building. Overwork. The lack of physical boundaries can lead to blurred lines between work and rest. Misalignment. Without strong communication, priorities can drift. Burnout. Without empathy and balance, remote teams can burn out even faster than in-office teams. Acknowledging these challenges is the first step towards addressing them. Why this matters for the future of the video game industry. Remote and distributed teams are not a passing trend. They are the future of the game industry. Studios that master remote governance will gain access to global talent, reduce costs, and build resilience. Those who fail risk disconnection, inefficiency, and being obsolete. Leaders must therefore take remote governance seriously, not as a temporary adaptation, but as a core leadership skill for industry future. Actionable step 9. Create rituals for consistency. Remote teams thrive when there are rhythms that provide stability. Without consistent rituals, remote work can feel disjointed. Examples of helpful rituals for game dev leaders. Weekly sprint kickoffs to align priorities. End-of-week demo days where developers showcase progress. Monthly studio-wide meetings to reinforce vision and values. Informal coffee chats scheduled randomly to replicate hallway conversations. Rituals provide predictability, which reduces stress and helps teams feel connected. Actual step number 10. Build psychological safety. Psychological safety is the belief that people can take risks without fear of punishment. In remote environments where communication lacks nuance, misunderstandings can easily escalate. Leaders must ensure people feel safe to share ideas, admit mistakes, and ask questions. How to create psychological safety in distributed teams. Respond constructively to mistakes instead of assigning blame. Encourage questions even if they seem basic. Normalize sharing work in progress rather than expecting perfection. Model vulnerability by admitting your own uncertainties as the leader. When psychological safety exists, creativity and innovation flourish even across distances. Actionable step number 11. Measure outcomes, not hours. In traditional offices, some leaders equate productivity with time spent at a desk. Remote work challenges this assumption. Governing remote and distributed teams requires measuring outcomes, not hours. Practical approach. Set clear deliverables for each role and track completion. Use key performance indicators that reflect quality and impact. Celebrate results rather than rewarding being online. Encourage flexibility in work schedules, especially for global teams. This approach builds trust and focuses energy on what matters most, making great games. Actual step number 12. Encourage cross-team collaboration. Remote teams can become siloed, with each department working independently. Leaders must intentionally foster cross-team collaboration to keep creativity flowing. Strategies for fostering collaboration. Organize cross-disciplinary workshops to solve design challenges. Create shared project spaces where teams contribute together. Pair developers from different departments for short-term problem solving. Encourage non-work collaboration through casual interest groups. Cross-team collaboration prevents isolation and mirrors the multifaceted nature of game development. Actionable step number 13. Anticipate burnout and well-being needs. Remote work removes commutes and allows flexibility, but it also introduces risks of overwork and burnout. Leaders must actively protect team well-being. Ways to support well-being. Establish clear boundaries for work hours and encourage breaks. Provide access to wellness resources such as counseling or ergonomic guidance. Regularly check in on personal well-being during one-on-ones. Normalize time off by leading with example. Healthy teams are productive teams. Protecting well-being that is not only human, but also strategic. Actionable step number 14. Develop transparent feedback systems. Feedback can feel more intimidating in remote environments because tone and context may be lost. Leaders must design feedback systems that are transparent, constructive, and supportive. How to structure remote feedback. Use regular one-on-one sessions for personalized discussion. Provide feedback in writing, then follow up with conversation. Balance positive recognition with constructive critique. Encourage peer-to-peer feedback to create a culture of improvement. Transparent feedback ensures alignment while building trust. Actionable step number 15. Strengthen onboarding for remote hires. Onboarding is one of the most vulnerable points for remote employees. Without physical immersion in studio culture, new hires can feel adrift. Leaders must build onboarding systems that integrate new team members effectively. Best practices for remote onboarding in game studios. Create a structured onboarding plan with clear milestones. Assign a mentor or buddy to guide the new hire. Provide digital resources that explain workflows and culture. Schedule early one-on-ones with leadership to reinforce inclusion. Strong onboarding ensures new hires feel part of the studio from day one. Long-term strategies for governing remote and distributed teams. Beyond immediate actionable steps, leaders must adopt long-term strategies that sustain governance across distributed environments. Invest in leadership training for remote management. Train managers in remote-first skills, including asynchronous communication, cultural sensitivity, and digital project management. Prioritize equity in access. Remote teams often span multiple countries. Ensure equitable access to resources, career growth, and visibility regardless of geography. Document culture and vision. Codify your studio's culture, values, and vision in written form so it's accessible and consistent for all. Evolve continuously. Remote governance is not static. Reassess tools, policies, and practices regularly to adapt to team needs. The challenges of governing remote teams in game development. Even with best practices, challenges remain. Cultural miscommunication across international teams. Technology fatigue from too many digital platforms. Invisible inequities, where certain regions or roles receive less visibility. Leadership adaptation for those used to in-person management. Acknowledging these challenges openly allows leaders to address them constructively. The benefit of getting it right. When remote and distributed teams are governed effectively, the benefits for video game industry are profound. Access to global talent. Studios can hire the best regardless of location. Diversity of perspectives. Distributed teams bring varied cultural insights into design. Resilience. Remote systems protect against disruptions like natural disasters or pandemics. Flexibility. Employees with flexible arrangements often report higher satisfaction and loyalty. Innovation. Teams empowered to collaborate across borders often generate unexpected ideas. Good governance transforms remote teams from a logistical challenge into a strategic advantage. Final thoughts. The leadership imperative. The shift to remote and distributed teams in the video game industry is not temporary. It is structural. Leaders who ignore this reality will struggle with communication, morale, and productivity. Leaders who embrace it will access talent, creativity, and resilience on a global scale. Governing remote and distributed teams requires intentional communication, deliberate trust building, and transparent accountability. It requires leaders to adapt, to listen, and to evolve continuously. The actionable steps outlined here provide a roadmap. Establish communication systems, build trust, set expectations, embrace time zones, foster culture, and protect well-being. Add to that rituals, feedback, and strong onboarding, and you create not just functional remote teams, but thriving ones. The video game industry will continue to evolve, but one constant remains. Leadership is about people. Whether in the same office or scattered across continents, leaders must build environments where people feel connected, trusted, and empowered to create. This is how remote governance becomes not just a necessity, but a competitive advantage. All right, and that's this week's episode of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, thanks for being awesome. Oh, hi. Man, the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.